Very good evening to you. You're live here on GHOne TV. It's time for News Tonight with me, Natalie, to look at our top stories. Coming up this evening, Supreme Court dismisses application by Speaker of Parliament who sought to overturn the court's ruling that suspended his declaration of 4 parliamentary seats as vacant. Meanwhile, Speaker to recall Parliament early November despite the triggering of Article 112, Clause 3 by MPs for a recall within 7 days. On Election Hub tonight, we will unpack the emerging trend, politics of questions, by the 2 leading presidential candidates. Also coming up, independent power producer Sunan Asogli Power Ghana Limited refutes accusation of bad faith over $60 million debt. Also coming up, flash flooding kills at least 72 people in southeast Spain, where rescue teams are working to find those feared missing. We bring you the details of these stories and much more news here on News Tonight Tuesday. Let's get started now with News Tonight. We begin with Insight. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has called on Ghanaians to remain vigilant and avoid complacency in the upcoming general election, emphasizing that each election carries unique dynamics and challenges. He delivered this message while reviewing the 53rd Police Officer Cadet graduation parade at the police depot in Accra.
Let me commend the police administration for the high levels of police professionalism that we see lately and have taken for granted. It was not always like this. Gone are the days when the police were the butt of everyone's jokes for unprofessional conduct. I watched in amazement as the Ghana Police Service, under extreme provocation from recent demonstrators, maintain their discipline and professionalism. We have long memories. Need I remind Ghanaians that peaceful protesters were met with extreme brutality with batons and whips. Today we have a new police service that we are all proud of. One that understands that maintaining law and order does not mean brutalizing its citizens. One that understands that it is a service for the people. One that understands that they are here to service and not to lord. One that understands that security is a shared responsibility and must be done hand in hand with the community. To all police officers of Ghana, I say you can be proud of yourselves, and I am proud of you.
In other news, the Supreme Court has dismissed an application by Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin, who sought to overturn the court's ruling that suspended his declaration of 4 parliamentary seats as vacant. This follows an initial suit filed by Efutu MP Alexander Afenyomarkin challenging the Speaker's declaration. The Speaker's legal team argued that the Supreme Court lacked jurisdiction in this case among other grounds canvassed in court. However, after hearing arguments from all parties, including the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, the Supreme Court maintained that its earlier ruling is appropriate, stating that the Speaker's appeal was without merit. EIB Network's legal affairs correspondent Murtala Inusa has more.
Gradually, the dust is being settled. The case involving Alexander Afenyo Markins against the Speaker of Parliament has been dealt with, where a 5-member panel of the Supreme Court, presided over by the Chief Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu, has rejected an application from the Speaker of Parliament to have its earlier ruling set aside. What lawyers of the Speaker, led by Thaddeus Sori, said was to the effect that that decision taken by the Apex Court, it has no jurisdiction to come to that determination. For that matter, its ruling ought to be set aside. But the Attorney General opposed to that and said the application by the Speaker of Parliament is offensive and same should be dismissed. Alexander Afenyo Markins, through his lawyer Pakwesi Abedu, argued that all the processes that were filed in the run-up to this, everything points to the fact that the Speaker of Parliament was notified before he went ahead to deliver that or to declare those 4 seats vacant. But what has been the decision of the Supreme Court, led by the Chief Justice, after hearing the parties?
It is important to place on record that both the plaintiff and the Attorney General have complied with these orders, and this court is able to complete hearing of this suit if the Speaker chooses to file no processes. For the above reasons, the application is refused.
The Attorney General, Godfred Yebo Adame, explains why the Supreme Court came to that conclusion.
I think it's very important to indicate that this country sometimes there's a lot of ignorance paraded as wisdom. The situation where you have ignorance paraded as wisdom must stop. There's a lot of deceit and misrepresentation of reality to the public. You find all the points that have been made all the time. I listen to the radio quietly when this matter came. I've never spoken at all. And I see a lot of ignorance and mischief being perpetrated and being thrown in the eyes of the public. And you've seen it. I'm sure that is why the court took its time to deliver such a comprehensive ruling to educate the public properly and to prevent ignorance from being further paraded as wisdom in this country.
Pakwesi Abedu, the lawyer for Alexander Afenyo Markins, has this to say after the decision.
Let me indicate clearly that today's ruling has narrowed down the issues for determination by the courts, in the sense that the first defendant, that is the Speaker of Parliament, now has no excuse whatsoever to decline or fail to file his defense and statement of case to the action. So now we are poised for a full hearing and determination of the matter. No more interlocutory or interim applications.
Moments after the decision was given, the Chief Justice and panel, the substantive panel, to deal with this particular case. It is a constitutional matter and will require a 7-member panel. The case has since been adjourned to the 11th of November for hearing, after the Speaker's lawyers have been given up to November 6th to file all the unnecessary processes. From the Supreme Court here in Accra, Murtala Inusa, GHOne.
So that's Murtala Inusa. Then we have him in studio, in fact. That's Murtala Inusa, legal affairs correspondent. He's been in court throughout the start of this issue and is going to run us through the implications now. Now, Murtala, first of all, can you elaborate really and help us understand on which grounds Speaker Babin's legal team argued that the Supreme Court lacked jurisdiction in this case?
Well, as we do know, on the 18th of October, the Supreme Court made a ruling in relation to an application sent to it by Alexander Afenyo Markins.
Absolutely.
An ex parte motion of that, of course. And because it was one-sided, an ex parte because they felt that there was something urgently happening and the Supreme Court ought to protect that from damages or for something untoward to happen until the parties are put on notice. Alexander Afenyo Markins went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court made that ruling. But the lawyers of the Speaker said that, look, that decision by the Supreme Court is not born out of law. So we are going to the Supreme Court to challenge it, for it to reverse that decision, to stay the ruling of the Speaker on the 17th, to say that 4 seats in Parliament have been declared vacant because those people have declared their intention to go independent.
Absolutely.
Now, today, the panels of 5, presided over by the Chief Justice, sat on the matter. And the grounds of that application from the Speaker's lawyers through lawyer Tadosori, among other things, state that, look, the Supreme Court did not have jurisdiction. The Supreme Court, if anything at all, the application ought to have come with the rates, in fact, ought to have come with an application for an abridgment of time to say that, look, if all the processes are filed and the case was supposed to be matured in 2 weeks' time, you can say, because of the urgency of the matter, let's abridge the time and bring it forward, and let's say in 3 days' time or 2 days' time. That is how it's supposed to come, with the Speaker put on notice, not on the blind side of the Speaker. Again, they felt that this decision taken by the Supreme Court breached the rule of natural justice, and in totality, they feel that the Supreme Court ought to have stayed its ruling and allow the decision of the Speaker to work. But the Supreme Court looked at the situation after, in fact, parties, Parkweswe Abedu, who was holding, in fact, representing
now
Afenyo Markins, opposed to that, and the Attorney General also opposed to the request.
Now, Murtala, I'm going to engage you some more really as to what options are available to the Speaker, if any. But we've got on Zoom Bobby Banson, that's a private legal practitioner. He joins us to further investigate this issue really and assess it and its implications. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, my colleague Murtala Inusa was just highlighting the grounds upon which the Speaker's legal team argued that the Supreme Court lacked jurisdiction. But what are the implications of this and any other options that the Speaker can explore?
Good evening to you, and thanks for having me. I think the decision by the Supreme Court was solid. It was firm in the sense that it addressed all the issues that had been raised in the application by the Speaker to set aside the ruling of the Speaker on the 18th of October. What it means is that the ruling by the Supreme Court staying the execution or suspending the consequences of the ruling by the Speaker earlier in respect of the vacation of the seats by the 4 members of Parliament remains. Is still binding on the Parliament and the Speaker. The 4 members of the Parliament are supposed to be still members of Parliament. They are supposed to exercise all their rights and their duties as well until the Supreme Court finally decides which way to interpret those constitutional provisions. And so as it stands now, it is as if the Speaker never declared those seats vacant. And then the Supreme Court will now proceed, as it has ordered the Speaker's Council to file their statement of case in respect of the substantive writ that is before the Supreme Court for a true and proper interpretation of those articles, particularly 97(1) G and H, and then the consequences of it, a declaration that the Speaker's ruling, as is being described, was unconstitutional, and then the seat should remain vacant. If at the end of the day, the Supreme Court finds that the Speaker's interpretation of those constitutional provisions were right, then it means that the Supreme Court's ruling, the Speaker's ruling will be upheld. But as it stands now, the Supreme Court says that do not do anything, do not deny those 4 parliamentarians access to Parliament, the rights to participate in parliamentary proceedings, until we have finally determined how to interpret that Article 97(1) G and H.
All right. Now, really, what precedent does this set in dealing with similar issues and cases subsequently?
Well, in terms of, there are various angles, the issue of whether or not Article 99 takes away the jurisdiction of Parliament to deal with matters relating to whether a member of Parliament has vacated a seat. The Supreme Court was very emphatic. They said, listen, we recognize the jurisdiction of the High Court, but we think that as long as Article 2 is concerned, where there is a controversy as to how to interpret any of the provisions in Article 97, it is the Supreme Court that has jurisdiction. But where there is no controversy as to how to interpret the Article 97, none of the parties to the matter has any issue with the controversy, the interpretation, but only the facts, then you can go to the High Court. So I think that was well set out. Secondly, the Supreme Court also, by way of procedure, emphasized its inherent jurisdiction to determine whether or not the exigencies of any case require an application to be served on notice to the other side or not on notice. It has to be dealt with on case-by-case basis, and so the Supreme Court upheld its decision on that ground. More importantly, the impact of a circular issued by the Chief Justice, an administrative circular, whether it overrides a statutory provision. The Supreme Court also dealt with that. And the Supreme Court also, and the Chief Justice took pains to explain that circular that had been the basis of the Speaker rejecting the service of the writ and the interlocutory application for injunction, saying that, listen, the circular said that if you want to serve the Speaker directly, the Speaker as in give it to Mr. Abanbabe, do it only on Monday. But if you want to serve the Speaker or any other member of Parliament through the legal department of Parliament, then you can do it on any other day. So I think that brings clarity to that circular as well.
Very well. Thank you for expanding on that. Bobby Banson, private legal practitioner. Now, Murtala Inusa, the parliamentary affairs correspondent here, I should say, at EIB Network. What was the public reaction to this decision? Because yes, you have been engaging the public as well, and in terms of the perception of Parliament, what was the reaction?
Well, clearly, you notice that the decision is a firm one. The Supreme Court is saying that, look, like lawyer Bobby Banson just stated, look, don't do any other thing until such time that the Supreme Court put finality to this very case. What is happening? There's a lot of mixed reaction about what that has happened. If a speaker is going to the Supreme Court to say that the Supreme Court had no jurisdiction, and the Supreme Court is saying that, look, you enact all the laws, we interpret the laws, and we think that the issue at hand, the Supreme Court has to deal with it. In fact, at one point in time, the court made that comparison between the administrative procedure and the law. When the two are at par, you need to go with what the law says against the administrative procedure. And clearly, you notice counsel was talking about the fact that speakers serve personally on Mondays, but a process could be served on anybody within the course of it. And that is clearly stated within the ruling. And the court made it clear that, look, if you look at all the things that were happening at one point in time, if there's constitutional crisis, Parliament is not sitting at this particular point in time and all of that, what could be done? The law has to be clear. So, as it stands, you notice that at one point in time, the panel were 5. Then, at some point in time, it changed to 7. It was because the Supreme Court was dealing with interlocutory matters, the motion, the application, and all that. So the panel were 5. But to deal with constitutional matter, you need a 7-member panel. And the 7-member panel that ended today's session is a substantive panel that is going to deal with the matter. And what they did was that they asked the Speaker's lawyers to file their submissions because the Attorney General and Alexander Afenyimakan's lawyer have filed theirs, and they have to file that by the 6th of November. And the Supreme Court will sit on the 11th of November. Initially, they have fixed 11th of November for judgment, but they realized that no, they need to come on 11th for the parties to make submission, and then they'll fix a date for judgment. So that's what in all transpired today.
Interesting, very interesting developments there. Murtala Inusa, legal affairs correspondent, thank you for breaking that down to us. Certainly more on this developing story subsequently. That wraps up Insight.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rawlings' state funeral, Emmys Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew. ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience who are also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup. Because on a production you see a number of people in the van. And so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets. And so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with it, EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
Welcome back to News Tonight here on GH1 TV, and it's just 38 days to the election 2024. Next, we bring you Election Hub. Well, Ghana's presidential hopefuls, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and John Dramani Mahama, are locked in a battle of wits. 50 questions and 5 questions. What is behind this query? The News Desk report by Tutua Danso explores this emerging trend, the politics of questions.
That was Pakwesi Emisa Arthur, the then Vice President of Ghana, responding to some 170 questions posed to him by now NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia in the run-up to the 2016 elections.
Anybody who is asking 170 questions, you know that he's not serious. And therefore, we shall ignore the 170 questions because he's not serious.
8 years on, it appears we are back to the question and answer era of our politics, with Dr. Bawumia daring the NDC flag bearer lecturer John Dramani Mahama to a debate on the economy.
I'm a man of data. I speak only with data. When I say we have done better, I have the data to support it. And this is why the former president doesn't want to debate me. He doesn't want to debate me because he knows that he doesn't have the data. He can make statements on political platforms where nobody can challenge him, but he cannot make them in front of me.
But he first got this from the former president, who is seeking a return to the presidency.
Bawumia doesn't deserve a debate. He is losing this election. I will not elevate him to my level and go and sit and debate him. Their campaign is failing. They have no message. And so he wants to be elevated to my level. No. I know my level.
Bawumia's boss Nana Akufo-Addo will not take this lying down as he quizzes the former president about which class he is talking about.
Ramaham also class here. There's a class of one. Class of one. I don't know what's our classroom. And your class, I'm a person Bawumia about the class. The B, Bawumia, Nyakupon, Emma Coin, or Fro Conyano 7th January, or better review, or better review.
Did it end there? Now Mahama decided to take up the role of the chief examiner and posed these 5 questions to Dr. Bawumia during a rally in the northern region.
He used to give lectures every month about how to run an economy, how to fix the economy. He posed 170 questions to my vice president, Emisata. He should go and answer the 170 questions himself. Indeed, he shouldn't answer 170 questions. He should answer only 3 questions. 3. Why is the exchange rate 17 cedis to the dollar? Question 1. Exam, he should come and write. Why has Ghana's debt risen from 120 billion to 767 billion in 8 years? Question 2, he should come and answer. Question 3, why is inflation where it is? Why did it rise to 54% under your administration for 8 years? And then let me add 2 more. Question 4, why did you borrow 42 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana? He should come and answer those questions. We don't need 170 questions. 170, if he wants, he can answer them himself. But Ghanaians are asking him 4 questions. He should come and answer those 4 questions and explain to Ghanaians why we are where we are. The last question is, why has he run away from the economy to digitalization? He used to do big about economy. Today he can't mention economy. It's not in his vocabulary. Anytime he opens his mouth, digitalization. Come and talk about the economy. That's question 5. 5 questions. Tell him. He should come and answer them.
This time round, he got a response from Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia in the form of 50 questions on his Facebook wall. Bawumia says if Mahama wants answers to his questions, he should meet him for a one-on-one debate.
When we meet mano a mano, we can debate and the country will see where our policies lie.
In a post made on his social media pages, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party said, "Questions for John Mahama. I have read these questions posed to me by former President Mahama. I would have thought he would be man enough to face me in a one-on-one debate for the Ghanaian public to assess our respective policies, achievements and visions. He should not hide behind any flimsy questions to avoid a debate. Come for a debate and I can ask the moderators to ask me these 5 flimsy questions. But I have many more substantive questions for him. 1. Can you name any broad-based social intervention policy that you implemented in Ghana as president? 2. Why did you run advertisements against free senior high school? 3. If you think your economic management was so good, how come we experienced more than 4 years of doomsday under your government? 4. Why did the banking sector almost collapse under your government? 5. Why did you cancel teacher training allowances? 6. Why did you cancel nursing training allowances? He posed these and 44 other questions to the former president, John Dramani Mahama. So the question on the minds of Ghanaians is, does this unending back and forth show a fear of facing each other? And will this new trend, the politics of questions, enhance transparency or hinder progress?
Well, away from the trend of the politics of questions, Deputy Communications Director of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Malik Basintale, has vowed to lead a protest to detain MPP Vice Presidential candidate Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh if he dares campaign at Pantang Hospital again. Basintale made these statements during the launch of the Girlless Mother, a new women's group in Damongo constituency, organized to garner support for the NDC's parliamentary candidate Adam Mutawakilu and former President GHOne Dramani Mahama.
This is a message to Matthew Opoku-Prempeh Nabo. 2 days ago, he visited the Pantang training. In fact, I was happy when I saw the post of his visit to Pantang training. Do you know why? Do you know why? I knew that Napo was finally going home, and the nurses of Pantang Psychiatric Hospital were going to detain him as one of the psychiatric patients. Are no different from what psychiatric patients have been saying. How on earth can you say God sleeps on earth? Have you ever seen God sleeping? Have you ever seen God sleeping? Only Matthew Opoku-Prempeh has ever seen God sleeping. The next time he visits Pantang training, I will lead a child to detain him there as a psychiatrist.
So, President Akufo-Addo says he is not ready to hand over power to someone who cannot manage the country well. This apparently is in response to demands for his resignation by former president and flag bearer of the opposition NDC, GHOne Dramani Mahama. But what do Ghanaians think about the performance of President Nana Akufo-Addo in the last 8 years? Mary Appiah finds out.
President Akufo-Addo has been campaigning for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. One important thing he said is that he cannot hand over the leadership of this country to someone who cannot manage it. What he means is that he cannot hand over power to Mahama. We want to find out. Do you think indeed Akufo-Addo has managed the country well?
I will say the expectation that we had for him is waning down. Everybody is murmuring things at the market, or our traders are also complaining. We, the buyers too, are not able to buy because the money in the system is very difficult to get money to buy things in the market. So if I'll give him any mark at all, I'll give him 45, but the 50, not 50.
For me, I admire the program about the free SHS and roads too. I traveled to Tamale recently. I see that the roads at the north there, they are going on. Compared to our south here, he has tried his best.
I would have given him like 60%. For most of the things that he promised to do, he did it. And then he has done most of them, so I would have given him the 60%. However, he was supposed to add up, because when he was coming, he said that he's going to do the total 100%. So now that I'm giving him the 60%, that means left with the 40%. So these 40% were not done. Before Akufo-Addo said he was coming to rule this country, he promised us what to do, what he can favor us. But he didn't do it as he came, he didn't do it. And now he's fighting for another power again. And I don't think he can win. I can't give Akufo-Addo even 30%. Honestly speaking, when you get to the EV hospital, people are dying there because of no money. The condition is not permanent. When you get to the hospital, when you even go to hospital, even at times you'll be in the car, the doctors come and take your temperature and everything, which is very bad. And you said this country, we are not we have for. And here's the case, we are more than we have.
Well, away from the president's performance and handling of the economy, the International Scout and Guide Fellowship Ghana has announced its intention to organize a 7-day peace walk from the Minsha Palace in Kumasi to the Garmanche Palace in Accra from the 21st of November 2024. Now, this initiative is aimed at promoting awareness and emphasizing the significance of peace, ahead of Ghana's December 7 polls. According to the fellowship, the peace walk is crucial in fostering a harmonious environment during the election period. The national president, Andrew Butchway, addressed the press, highlighting the importance of this initiative.
A vital initiative organized by the Scouts and Guide Fellowship Ghana to inspire unity and peace as we approach the December elections. We invite all Ghanaians to stand together, understanding that the future of our nation depends on the strength of our togetherness. As Scouts and Guides, we uphold values of respect, harmony, and service. With Peace Gathering 2024, we call on every Ghanaian to put aside differences and celebrate our shared identity and promote peace when it matters most. This year, the theme for our Peace Gathering is a call to unity. Fly the flag for peace. This embodies our message to all Ghanaians. We ask Ghanaians to join us in the Kumasi to Accra Peace Walk, taking place from November 21st to 29th.
Well, away from election 2024, let's turn to some education-related stories, as scores of Ghanaian parents and their wards have thronged the premises of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT Hall, to have various mistakes rectified in respect of the 2024-2025 secondary school computer placement. This comes after the Ministry of Education released the placement details, with many students left stranded after no school was assigned to their names.
According to a statement by the Ministry of Education, 447,698 candidates have been placed out of 553,155 qualified candidates, leaving 104,918 to undergo self-placement. Speaking to GHOne News, Public Relations Officer of the Ministry, Kwesi Kwaten, explained the rationale behind the self-placement.
We look at how the computerized school selection and placement system works. It's choice-based. At the end of the day, we match your selection, with, of course, looking at the residential status, looking at even the program that you chose, and then, run it through the list of schools that you choose. So if you are unable to match it to any of the schools that you choose, we don't impose a choice on you. So it is not as though they were not placed. Because if you look at the declared vacancies are even more than the students that are eligible for placement. What essentially it means is that they were not able to be matched up to the schools that are available or the schools that they choose.
He impresses on parents and guardians to take a keen interest in the selection of schools for their wards to avoid recurrence of non-placement in the future.
Sometimes they barely pay attention to the first 3 schools out of 11 because for them they believe that whichever way they'll get an opportunity to be in any of their 3 schools. I remember you're also competing with other students coming from other institutions or other schools across the country. So usually the advice is that exercises like this, particularly during the selection process, parents should be much interested and keen in the decisions that their wards make. Other than that, you may be having situations where parents will come and tell you that they did not select the school, but you look at the placement for it was there.
Some parents and guardians who spoke with the news team highlighted their concerns and hope for a favorable resolution.
In my ward, she has gotten a school, but the distance is a day school. But looking at things, it's far from where I live at La Paz, but they've given her Pram Technical Institute. But I prefer her to be a border than a big student.
My students' placement order was exchanged with another candidate. That's why I came here to rectify the problem.
I came here with my sister. They gave her a school that she didn't choose. They gave her Bono region, but she got 16. So you didn't know the reason why they pushed her there. She chose Osudoku Senior High, Accra Girls, and Wesley Gama and Nusek at Nungwa.
The concern that brought me here is a change of school. My daughter got the B school, which is a day school. But I don't want the day school, I want boardroom.
Registration and orientation in various secondary schools begin on 30th October and academic work is expected to commence on 7th November 2024.
Now, after 6 years of being designated as the OT regional capital, Dambai, a town with a population of over 61,000, still lacks a health facility to match its growing demands. Peter Kwao Adato reports that residents are forced to rely on makeshift clinics and small health centers for essential medical care, underscoring an urgent need for healthcare infrastructure.
According to Ghana's local governance laws, choosing a district or regional capital should consider the availability of essential social services. At the very least, such locations must have the capacity to quickly establish essential facilities, including healthcare, to serve the community and promote regional development. However, 6 years after Dambai's designation as the capital of the OT region, the town is still without a hospital equipped to serve its status. Makeshift clinics and minor health centers remain the only options for the area's growing population.
Example, if you get an accident like this, the major point is the main hospital. We need it here. That one there is compulsory by force. So they have to help us. Especially with the Okada boys, when we go to clinic, they can't take care of us. Unless they give us a letter to transfer us to O or Pando once we are here as a regional capital.
In a tragic illustration of this healthcare gap, former Municipal Chief Executive for Karachi East, Bernard Abakujia Mensah, collapsed on April 5, 2024 while addressing a matriculation ceremony at the Dambai College of Education. He was rushed to the local health centre but had to be transferred 80 kilometres away to Wara Wara Government Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Many believe a regional hospital nearby might have saved him.
Obi RSC, BHS, Mfaka, Enkorara, Trafaga, Nkwanta. Sam Ebi or Hokra Nipanu Undru, not Nipanafri. Until I was saying young hospital.
So it causes a lot of problems for us. Looking at this whole town, we don't have hospital. That is the number one problem that is hindering us more. Because without life, nothing else can be done here.
Despite provisions under Agenda 111, a project aimed at constructing hospitals across the country, the designated land in Dambai has seen minimal development, now overgrown and used by locals for farming. The only signs here are pillars showing what the area was designated for.
Clinics are health insurance, you see health insurance, so health insurance in your juma. Okwa, so need correct treatment. Be a
original capital here, hospital, guard, Kenya hospital here, Melemisi, a Dudu, be now, job is here, Arash Kabakwamia hospital, guard, Kelemisi.
However, Municipal Chief Executive Charles Jemfi Boateng, in an interview with Peter Kwao Adato, outlined recent efforts.
We have a clinic and we want to expand it to a polyclinic. So we are putting a theater for them. And then when you go to a community court in Jari, that one too, we have put a maternity ward over there.
Planned improvements include critical infrastructure such as surgical theatre, in collaboration with the World Bank's Soko project, to upgrade Dambai's health centre to enhance the quality of healthcare available.
We need to get the regional hospital at the same time at the district hospital. We make a proposal to the government to also consider as we are on it with the government to also consider as get this to hospitals in my municipality.
While Dambai's healthcare and other infrastructure remain in their early stages, these initial steps could be the foundation for a healthier future.
When we pass through Parapari to Agramu, we are doing that road and the feeder road from Parapari Junction up to Adiamra, and we are putting a dam at Parapari. It's a very big challenge at the Parapari, that community. So we are trying all possible and get them the dam.
Peter Kwao Adato's report for GHOne News.
Next on News Tonight, we bring you business news. Some energy experts have criticized Finance Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam for his remarks regarding the shutdown of the Sunan Asogli power plant over $60 million debt. Meanwhile, independent power producer Sunan Asogli Power Ghana Limited has refuted the Finance Minister's accusation of acting in bad faith by shutting down its 560 megawatt power plant amid ongoing debt negotiations. Let's get on to Zoom now and extend this conversation by engaging an energy analyst. That's Dr. Shafiq Suleiman, who's also a lecturer at the Institute of Oil and Gas at the University of Cape Coast. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, first of all, what really do you make of this seeming debates from government and the IPPs? And what does this mean for the energy sector in general?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your cherished viewers. First of all, I would want to add my voice to what is currently going on between government of Ghana and Sunan Asogli. This is as a result of the compounding debt that we have seen over the past 8 years that has accumulated against the IPPs. And I think most of the IPPs have a credit limit, and they have a point at which they cannot accumulate more debt on their behalf. So I think most of them are getting to that point whereby at the point where they are unable to actually continue to supply power without being paid. So I think that's where Sunan Asogli has gotten to, and I in a way understand their point of view, because they are in this business to also make profit and also mitigate their losses. Right. So if they've been supplying power for the past years and they've not been paid to the extent that the debt has accumulated to 60 million, it means that they've gotten to their credit limit. And they've gotten to a point where if they would want to continue to supply power without being paid, it will affect their business viability, it will affect their operational efficiency, and it may even affect their existence in Ghana. So I think per their contractual relationship with government and per the status of their performance or key performance indicators, they are at the point where they need government to really help or pay them.
Very well. So with that being said, you say that Sunan Asogli is not acting in bad faith from where you sit, and that they've reached their credit limit. Dr. Shafiq Suleiman, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us here on News Tonight. He's an energy analyst joining us on that issue. Well, certainly more subsequently. Thank you for speaking with us. In other business news, institutions and individuals are being advised to exercise caution by turning off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth when not in use to reduce the risk of unauthorized access to their systems. In observance of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, MTN Ghana has warned the public about the dangers of phishing scams, especially those that appear too good to be true. There's more in this report.
As part of activities to mark Cybersecurity Awareness Month, MTN Ghana has urged corporate institutions and individuals to take cybersecurity seriously to prevent cyber attacks. At an MTN Bride Conversations event, MTN Ghana's Chief Information Officer, Bernard Akwa, highlighted this year's theme, Navigating the Digital World with Safety Awareness, Action and Assurance. He emphasized that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility among all employees and encouraging them to adopt two-factor authentication and to frequently update their devices and passwords.
So companies have to, first of all, educate their staff on cybersecurity. Really educate them about the potential impacts of what could happen if the company is attacked by a cyber attacker. Companies must enforce password policy. Best practice out there is to change your passwords every 30 days as a company. And your passwords must be complex. It shouldn't be just your name or your first name and surname. Okay, it should be a real combination of characters that makes your password unique. And you must change it regularly. Companies must also put steps to, for example, block your USB ports. People cannot plug pen drives into your laptop and connect onto your network.
The CIO further cautioned against sharing Ghana card details and passwords, as this could lead to identity theft.
The key point with individuals is people try to steal your identity. So when you give your PIN to somebody or you give your Ghana card to somebody, the main aim is that you are giving your identity to somebody. Anything they do is being done in your name. If somebody steals your identity and they used to go and rob a bank, right, it is you who robbed the bank, even though somebody else did it, because they use your identity to do it. So that's why we need to be very careful about how we share our PIN, our IDs, and how we have to make ourselves secure so people cannot get access to our ID information.
MTN Ghana recommends that users regularly update their devices and apps to the latest versions for enhanced security.
Benini, Benjamin Yama, is in studio. Benjamin, it's good to see you. What have you got for us in sports
As
tonight?
Always, thank you very much, Natalie. And in sports, I've got some news from Accra Sports Stadium, which will be hosting a crucial game for the Blacks. Let's begin from that, actually, where Accra Stadium will be hosting Ghana's last AFCON qualifier on Monday 6 between Ghana and Niger in the month of November. That's November 18. That's a Monday. Now, GFA has announced earlier this afternoon. Now, this match for sent approval for the goalless drawn game against Sudan in October. The Stars currently sit third in Group F with just 2 points. They trail leaders Angola by 10 points and second place Sudan by 5 points. Now fans eagerly anticipate the showdown to see how they recover from their poor performances against Sudan. The Stars' qualification chances is almost non-existent, but Ghana must now win their remaining matches by defeating Niger and also restore some hope with a glimmer of hope for the nation Ghana. Let me get you some updates of some games currently ongoing. Currently in Togo, we have Ghana with Nigeria in the finals of the Waffle Zone B currently ongoing, and also we have Kotoko currently drawing with Legon Cities in the game ongoing now. Let's go to this piece of news. The Ghanaian duo of David Odro and Abdulaziz Issa have been cleared and are set to make their debut appearance for Spanish side Barcelona second team, that's Barca Athletic, this weekend. Aziz and Odro joined the Barca youth team during the summer transfer window and have been training with both sides, but were yet to partake in any official match until now. Abdulaziz Issa, who is 18 years old, was signed on a season-long loan from Dreams FC in Ghana. His time at Barca is seen as a vital opportunity to refine his skills in one of the world's most esteemed football environments. Odro, on the other hand, was transferred from Accra Lions on a 3-year deal. Now, both players are considered key prospects for Ghana football and integral to Barca's youth development initiatives, with Ghana at the center of it all. And that's it for Sport Talk. To you, Natalie, for the rest of the news.
Interesting sports news there, Benghazi. Thank you for the sports segment, Benjamin Yamwa. That's all the sports we've got. Now, next is international news. Leaving some people clinging to trees in what marked the worst rainfall in Valencia in 28 years. Now, that's according to State Weather Agency. According to them, what caused the flooding is the worst in Valencia that it's ever experienced in a century, but it adds that it's too early to tell if climate change is to blame. And that is all the news that we've got for you this evening. Thank you so much for making the time. It was produced by Obed King Gaglo. I'm Natalie Fort, directed by Benini. Have a wonderful evening.